Welcome, and good to see you today. Now, I have resisted saying good morning because not all of you will be watching in the morning. Yet, I think it's appropriate that I say good morning to you, for it tells you a little bit about me and how I start and how I live my day. Today, we're going to talk about something near and dear to many of our hearts in the developed world. We're going to talk about weight loss, fitness, health, fat, okay? Huge, gordo, gargantuan, tiny, skinny, anorexic, beanpole, beanstalk. Let's see, what else? There's probably a lot more out there. Feel free to echo all of the most horrendous and, body shaming. Here's another one. Yeah, body shaming. I talk about body shaming out there, all right? And that is mentioning someone's weight or size. So the easiest way to look at a lot of these things is to remember as a child. So as a child, you find interesting aspects of someone's character or their physical features, because that's the first thing you have to go with. I'll give you an example. When I went to visit my nephew, okay, and one of my brothers has screaming ginger hair. All right, now he's the editor of a newspaper. I won't mention his name, but someone will figure it out and post it out there. And one of his children, when I was little, I came over, and he said, Uncle Gal, that's my first name, is Galtham, and my nickname is Gal, and my brother called me Gal, and it stuck. I don't know anyone else in the world named Gal from the name Galtham, or Galthama. But no one calls me that. People call me Karate, or Mr. Karate. People try to call me Gutham and mispronounce my name, or try to call me Galtham like they're my buddies and they're familiar, but you don't know me. As you get to know me, you may or may not call me that. You might call me asshole, dickhead. There's a lot of names I've been called in my life. Sand nigger, camel jockey. Needless to say, some of them are a lot more offensive than fat ass, bloated, train, whatever you want to call it. Mostly because the thing that I was being maligned for, I could not change. Which will tie us back to my little nephew who said, Uncle Gal is dark. And his mom said, don't say that. And I looked at him. I said, why? I am. There's nothing wrong with pointing out a physical feature like Daddy Big Nose or Uncle Big Ears, because that's fine. See, the shaming comes when you're embarrassed for it. Now, should you not be embarrassed? Well, that depends. If you're a fucking fat, gluttonous pig, maybe you should be. Now, am I going to speak to you that way? No. Would I have for much of my career? Hey, man, I'm a soldier. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get you to accomplish the mission. But that's not what you're hiring me for. Especially considering the price you're paying me right now, which is nothing, which means I can pretty much say whatever I want within reason. Actually, do I even think within reason? Well, that's a longer conversation. But I will discuss free speech for a moment. Imminent threat, okay, is the only time where you can circumscribe free speech. And I think it was Chief Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes said, fire in a crowded theater, okay, because there's an imminent threat. And they call that prior restraint, and there's a lot of issues around civil liberties. Now, this is the United States Supreme Court. Now, our free speech ideas we gained from the UK, so I have a lot of respect for the people who invaded India and pretty much civilized us. Now, were we civilized before? Oh, a lot of Indians are mad at me, but I'm American, so I can pretty much say whatever I want. And the truth is the great culture, which is nascent in India, came from a culture far older before the waters rose. That is where Advaita Vedanta comes from, that is where the Upanishads come from, and is the most advanced spiritual science known. Okay, but when the waters rose and everything broke up and Abraham took over the planet, things went a different way. Now, I'm not going to get into that because that's not what this conversation is about. This conversation is about self-image and how to maintain why is important and what I have done and what can be done by anyone. So, Daddy Big Nose, Uncle Gal is dark. So, the reason that you're often ashamed from your body is because you know you're not doing the most you can. I'll give you an example. Generally, handicapped people are not ashamed of being handicapped if they've done everything they can. I'll give you an example, wheelchair Olympics guy. You can pretty much say whatever you want to wheelchair Olympics guy. He's not going to even be dented. Dude has to, try to get out of bed with no legs every day, or in a wheelchair with legs, but this is paraplegic. Look, there's so much amount of pain that we have no idea about. Go to Walter Reed, see a soldier, all right, missing a limb. Or more importantly, read the book from the guy who's missing 3 limbs. and his comedy. Now, I'm not powerful enough to even approach that in this way. All right? I have immense respect for that individual, and I have nothing to say after that because it would be inappropriate for me to even presume to know what that person feels like. But he sets a great example of how to deal with, quote, disability, which is a disability. Knowing what your limitations are, which would allow you to exceed them, and to find out which ones you can and cannot, which is what I've spent my life doing. It's ironic, my first career out of the Army was as software quality assurance tester at the world's largest piece of code at that time. Had over 2 million lines of code. It was the Windows 2000 operating system. And it was when Brian Valentine, senior vice president he was of Exchange, came to Windows and rebuilt our entire testing and deployment strategy. And it was a change for Microsoft, and it changed the world. And that core of the NT kernel, as mixed through Windows 2000, Windows 2000 Professional, and eventually XP, okay, made huge differences. Now, I don't want to get too much into that right now, as excited as I am. But that process was software testing the boundary cases. Okay, load testing, basically race conditions, boundary checking, all these different types of tests, automated manual testing, which I did. Okay, and replicated across a team of about 24 people and learned about writing code. The build chart, build tree for Windows, even at, I think it was like 12-point font, went across, it must have been a 70-foot wall. And I knew someone who was on the build team, and I knew the PM who was in fact in charge of that at one point. Now I can't say any more, the rest of it is basically, I think it's NDA, I'm not going to say any more anyway. But the important part of the story is I spent my life testing the boundary cases. Now I'm a bit pressured and excited because you may have seen my little dog Maddie. I want to take her outside, all right? And not take her out, but take her outside. Take her outside. Not take her out, but take her outside. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm a horrible person. Just a horrible person. So, all right. So weight loss. What you'll see in my page that I've written there is in 2000, after we actually shipped Windows. Now, I've shipped a piece of code. That's quite a bit different than the DevOps lifestyle today. I shipped a piece of code that actually had a gold CD that was stamped and was going to ship into the grubby hands of like 700 million people, okay? Now, after that actually was on, I deployed servers for the Windows Update team, which was in fact a patch that would hit every single Windows instance in the world at some point. I actually was in charge of the patch management program. Not in charge, let me rephrase that. I was one of the lead consultants in charge of mitigating the effects of Nimda and Slammer and SQL in 2003. So I've been doing big stuff in computing, internet security, infrastructure since basically the dot-com age and before. Now, why does that matter here? Well, that lifestyle made me hugely overweight and swollen. We used to have a shirt that said Body by Microsoft, and it was on the lower gut, because we pretty much would be working so often and destroying our bodies, okay, to get here. There's different kinds of destroying your bodies. Look at the Olympians. They're held up as a model of health, but they're a model of fitness, and the injuries an Olympian takes are pretty severe. Now, I'm not an Olympian, but the Army had got screws in my knee and a shoulder that pops out and a variety of other issues, okay? Not important. It was well worth it. I'd do it again. The Army is one of the greatest experiences of my life, and the men of the combat arms taught me what it means to be a man. For thousands of years, we've been training boys into men, and that's how it's done. Had I not been in the Army, I would never be the man you see here today. I would be a self-loathing, snowflake, snowball, whatever, these people who snivel all the time about their emotions. Don't get me wrong, I snivel, but the Army taught me how to deal with sniveling, okay? And what the difference between sniveling is, whining is, actual pain, and how to deal with it. That's also battlefield triage. Again, not really the point of this discussion. The point of this discussion is, after the shipping of Windows 2000, I moved down to Silicon Valley, to really be part of the internet boom. Now, this was in 1999. That's when we shipped Windows 2000. I moved down there. Well, I had done a triathlon in November, in the Hood Canal triathlon. It was an Olympic triathlon, which is, let's see, it's a 800 meters swim. No, it's one-click swim. And there were oysters because the tide went out, so a whole bunch of people had cuts. That was dope. I didn't get any cuts. Swam the whole thing, scraped my hands. Still me. Okay, so I swam the kilometer swim. Then I rode a 25-click bike ride. So 25 miles, 40 clicks, 25 miles, 40 clicks. And that's 40 kilometers. And I rode on a fully suspended mountain bike because I'm crazy. And then I ran a 10K run. I had full leg cramps the whole way, and I was like, hey, that's when you run like this. This is totally insane. I was like, because I had full cramps. I'm Army, man. I ain't going to quit. Fuck that. I'll keep going. So I finished that in like, whatever, 2 hours, however long it took. I actually had that's a longer story. So I pulled it off. I wasn't last in my class, but I was near the bottom, I think. And a lot of it has to do with the fully suspended mountain bike and other things. And it's not, I mean, I'm making an excuse there, Army style. You know, well, I had a fully suspended mountain bike. Well, hey, I finished and I wasn't last. So, bam. Okay. All right, but I finished. So, why do I mention that story? Well, the picture you see in my pictures here. Now, I had more pictures, but my archives got lost, 2 sets. And there's a reason for that, and that was part of my renunciation. I don't want to get into it. This is a long story, kind of a long, involved story, as everything with me is. Because everything, to me, is actually an integrated story of spiraling up the mountain, okay? And depending on how you're looking at it, others might see it as spiraling down. Part of it was spiraling down. And once I reached the bottom, it was spiraling up. Now, in 2000, I decided to do the Body for Life Challenge. I had read the book. A man introduced me to it at Microsoft, who still hasn't finished the challenge to this day. Very interesting story. Well, my ex-wife and I, wife at the time, engaged in 12-week challenge. Now, only I finished it. She made it 7 weeks through, and she lied about eating and a variety of other things. And why I mention this is because this Body for Life challenge changed my life. Because at the end of the challenge, I looked like a freaking underwear model, okay, or close. And I learned that I could make my body look into any way that I want. The Body for Life challenge essentially consists of this. You change your diet to where each of your meals has a portion of protein and a portion of carbs, so a fist size of each. And 2 of them per day have to have a fist size of vegetable, 1 serving. And you do 6 meals a day, bodybuilding styles, 2 to 2.5 hours apart, and you drink 2 glasses of water with each one. You only work out for 45 minutes a day, 3 days a week, doing lifting and pyramids, and a cardio, high-intensity interval training, HIIT training, 3 times a week. So you do weightlifting, cardio, weightlifting, cardio, weightlifting, cardio. And then you have a free day where you can eat anything you want. And I had diarrhea for every free day for the first, I think for the whole time. Not the whole time, it's like the first 4 weeks. And I still overate until well after the challenge. So at the end of that, that also changed my marriage. Had my ex-wife finished that, we'd be married to this day. She'd be a different person, okay? Now, this isn't why our marriage broke up. I mean, all the problems we had before we got married, and I could see them. And was it a train wreck? No. It's a longer conversation. And for the respect for the person that person was at one point. Because if I respect myself at that time, I must respect them. And now we'll transition to the most important part of this call. I'm going to call it a call today. So maybe these videos are me putting a call out, you know, like the missionary. She was a Mormon missionary. And being a missionary is about calling the elect. And sometimes missionaries forget that you're not there for everyone. Okay? You're there for the elect. So you're going to call the elect, and some are going to answer. Not even all of them are going to answer. So many are called, few are chosen. You'll hear that phrase. And even few are make it. Okay? Whatever that means. What I'm here to tell you is the Body for Life Challenge showed me that you can make your body into whatever you want. And 1 day a week you can eat whatever you want. And 6 days a week, only 45 minutes of training at most. And you can get to where you need to go. If you do 3 or 4 of these pretty much, you can go from being, 100 pounds overweight to meeting your requirement. Totally doable. An even more important part of the story is I've descended and ascended several times. Okay? This is the 3rd time pretty much I've done it. I do everything 3 scenarios just to be sure. I'm like the Goldilocks of fitness. Too large, too small, just right? I don't know. Well, I left you some photos up there, and I will be making some, posts over the next year of different ways of healing yourself. The most important thing I'd like you to know, though, and with respect to fat shaming and all that, is it's lies. Okay? All the stuff about fat shaming and happy in any size is this. Is if you give someone the ability to take a pill and look and feel however they want, smoke, eat, or drink whatever they want, everyone will take it. Okay? Alright? Once you get to the level of spiritual mastery, you won't. Okay? Because there's only personal self-mastery. I have a great friend who has actually lost over 100 pounds. Dude did it in like a year with no special magic or tricks. An amazing individual. Alright? All around. Now, we've had a bit of falling out, but it happens. There's miscommunications abound. And when people's emotions start to basically confuse them, everything, they're in a hall of mirrors. So you get into the hall of mirrors stage where you can't recognize what is you, what isn't you, and what is real and what is not real. And that is, in fact, every day until you decide to awaken. Now, not everyone wants to wake up, all right? And not everyone will wake up. Not everyone can wake up. The job of an awakened one is first to figure out your sleep. Then to figure out what awake is. Then to become awakened, okay? And as you're becoming awakened, you gotta watch out because you're walking full of room full of fucking zombies who are gonna run into you, stab you, bump you, run over you, and do all kinds of shit that's gonna hurt really badly. And it's not gonna hurt them at all because they're asleep, right? Running into you, right? And then when you tell them, hey, stop, they say they didn't do anything. That's the worst part about it. They'll deny it, right? And then they'll attack, counterattack, right? Deny, counterattack, defend, whatever. Rules of grief, kind of like this last election. The Clinton team is like, they've done everything but for the stages of grief. It's taken some fucking responsibility for yourself. Because that's what the last 56 years is about, okay? Because evil essentially is, and all of this world exists because someone wants to cash a check that they haven't paid for. Or they want to get something they haven't paid for, which means they're delaying cost and they're paying for gratification now. Now, in that same way that compound interest can make you rich over time, is the same way it can fucking put you in hell. Now, I'm allowing the F words and swearing today because I want you to feel those emotions associated with enslaving yourself to the physical body. Because a food addiction is no different than a drug addiction. And dietary food that gives you an endorphin rush with no nutritional value is crack, okay? So you're eating a drug. Now, would I have done this if I wanted to? No, absolutely not. Did I do the Body for Life Challenge? Yes. But there's a stage you can pass that of mastering the quality and character of food. And these are Ayurvedic concepts you'll also find in Chinese medicine, okay? And these are characteristics of the taste, the character of food. These are beautiful things. And as you start to renounce and release all of your attachment to these foods and then slowly add them back, your skin will glow, your emotions will change, and you'll become much lighter. Part of becoming much lighter and floating to the top of the ocean, the top of the sea, where the sun is bright and the waves are high, is you have to let go of the weight. And the weight is the grudge, and that's what's holding everyone down. You feel like you're abandoning people, leaving them down there, but I have to tell you, when you quit drugs or alcohol and you're in fucking hell, you don't give a fuck, okay, at that point. See, I lost all sense of pride, okay, when I was in a situation, when I was emotionally needy and I needed help. And I would have taken help from anyone, okay? That is what taught me humility. And that's what teaches me whenever I'm rationalizing as I'll be sick somewhere in some fucking gutter, okay? That's how you know. People say, oh, you're rationalizing, you're manipulating, you're scheming. So I'll think and check because I'm a respectful guy, but we know I'm not. You know we know I'm not? Look at me. Look in the mirror. Look where I am. Look at how my bills are. Look at how my life is taken care of. Shit will start to go, as soon as it won't go immediately. But when I start blaming people and becoming a victim, right, becoming a slave, you will see it in my life around me. And will I never go back? No, I will never go back. Now you can throw me in prison, wrongfully accuse me of some shit, and I'll fucking just go to prison. I'll obey the law. But you can say whatever you want. Talk is cheap. This election taught me they will say things about people. They'll say horrible things, right? You will watch a man's body of work. You watch people who you respect review his body of work. and review their body of work. It's just like when I hire someone, and that's how I ran this election. I've hired a lot of people, okay, at very, very high levels of functionality and importance. And that's how I ran this election. And it was an easy choice once I knew, okay? I know someone who builds, makes, and produces something, and I know someone who fucking plays political games to take resources from one person to give it to another, right? Which is un-American, and is not the way of man, and is not the way of honor. The way of man and the way of honor is we will give you tools and we will train you, and we expect you to stand or fall on your own. If you come to us in need, if you come to us in wounded, with respect and humility, we will assist you, okay? We will assist you, but we don't give anyone anything. We trade. We trade among men. Fair day's work for fair day's wages, all right? Charity is something separate. They're in no way related. I give to you because I give to God, because that is how God created me. Lady Yada, one of the greatest open source people in the world, from Adafruit, has her own website. She's from MIT, freaking genius, like literally. She talks about the grabby little 3-year-old, and the reason we do open source and we give what we have in our knowledge, because it is the capital of all humankind. The reason that we give this, and I'm giving this right now today, isn't why I'm doing it, but it's one of the reasons that it helps is to get rid of the grabby little 3-year-old that when she sees a plate of cookies, she just wants to grab all of them, right? Yeah, I was that little 3-year-old. Absolutely, I wanted to grab all those cookies or whatever at some point. Apparently we all were. Literally. All of us. So that's why we give. It's to quiet the grabby little 3-year-old. And that is what knowledge and open source is about, and that's what this video is about. Do what you want, man. Enjoy it. Okay? And later on throughout the year, we're going to talk about ways of soothing your emotions to ease the grieving process, okay? To ease the resentments that you feel that cause you to try to eat and smother that fire in your belly. And we're going to kickstart that fire, and it's going to fucking cook off everything. It is going to melt that fat off of you, all right? There's going to be rage, anger, violence, and fury. There's going to be the deepest, blackest pits of despair, so dark that you can't even see darkness, okay? Because that's hell. All right? And you're down there. We need to fucking get you out of there. We need to go all the way down there, unchain your shit, and get you out of there. And we will provide the emotional space, the healing, so that you might be able to experience those emotions. All right? We will provide that healing space so that you might be able to experience those emotions. We will provide the healing space so that you may be able to experience those emotions. This is one of my longest videos, but it's very important to me, and I have a lot more about health and fitness to share and the ways that I've gone through this. Eventually, I'll be getting some Periscope up, and we'll be tweeting, and we're going to talk about ways. You can ask me questions about how I lost weight. You can ask me questions about how I dealt with it. You ask me questions, eventually maybe I'll get someone on here, some of the women from my life who dealt with the rage and violence, okay, coming out of me. Just that raw, pure rock fury, as I like to say. It's from a band. Extra points for whoever knows who that is. Anyway, God bless. Hari Om.